It was supposed to be an ordinary taping day for the Judge Judy show, another round of feuding neighbors, broken fences, and unpaid loans. The audience filled the small studio courtroom, whispering and pointing toward the iconic bench where Judge Judy Sheindlin presided with her no-nonsense glare. Cameras rolled, producers adjusted lighting, and the bailiff gave the usual reminder about courtroom decorum. Everything seemed routine, until the case of Karen Wallace versus the City of Los Angeles was called. Karen strutted into the courtroom with the air of someone who believed the world owed her an apology. Her blonde hair was teased into an unyielding helmet, her sunglasses perched high on her head even though they were indoors. She clutched a thick binder labeled Evidence of Mistreatment in pink glitter marker. When the bailiff told her to take a seat at the plaintiff's table, she muttered, "Finally, someone's going to listen to me for once." The defendant's side was empty, the city representative had been delayed. Judge Judy peered over her glasses at Karen. "Ms. Wallace," she said crisply, "you're suing the city for emotional distress because a park bench broke when you sat on it. Is that correct?" "Yes, Your Honor," Karen replied. "That bench was defective. I could have been seriously injured, and nobody from the city has apologized. I demand justice." Judge Judy nodded slowly, pen tapping against her notepad. "And you're seeking how much in damages?" $50,000, Karen announced proudly, as if the number itself were proof of her suffering. The audience murmured. Judy raised one eyebrow. $50,000 for a splintered bench? Karen sniffed. "Not just for the bench. For the humiliation." People laughed. "My pants were ruined. My dignity was destroyed." Judge Judy leaned forward. "Ms. Wallace, benches in public parks are not designed for gymnastics. Were you standing, jumping, or otherwise misusing it?" "I was sitting normally." Karen insisted. "Well, maybe I shifted a little, because my phone fell, but that's irrelevant. The city has to ensure its benches can handle ordinary use." The judge gestured toward the bailiff. "Show me the photos, please." On the monitor appeared a picture of a cracked wooden bench in a sunny park. It looked worn but not neglected. Judy examined it, expression unreadable. "This doesn't look like a catastrophic failure. What exactly happened?" Karen's voice trembled with practiced outrage. "I sat down, heard a snap, and the next thing I knew, I was on the ground. People took pictures. Some teenager filmed it. It went viral online. I became a meme, Your Honor." Laughter rippled through the audience. Judy shot them a look and they fell silent. "A meme?" she repeated. "Yes. People called me names, made fun of me. My reputation was ruined. The city owes me for emotional damages." Judge Judy sighed. "Ms. Wallace, being embarrassed in public is not usually grounds for a lawsuit against an entire city. Do you have any evidence that the bench was structurally unsound before you sat on it?" Karen flipped through her binder theatrically. "I have photos of peeling paint and one rusty bolt." The judge inspected the images. "You took these after the incident?" "Yes." "So the bench could have broken because of your fall, not before." Karen's voice sharpened. "Are you saying this is my fault?" "I'm saying I need evidence of negligence. You can't just assume the city owes you money because you had a bad day." Karen crossed her arms. "Well, I talked to a lawyer online, and he said I had a strong case." Judy smirked. "Was this lawyer on the same website that sells miracle diets and conspiracy theories?" The courtroom laughed again. Karen glared. "That's not funny." "It's a little funny," the judge admitted. "But continue. You claim emotional distress. Did you seek therapy?" "I looked into it," Karen stammered. "But therapy's expensive. I figured I'd wait until I got compensated." Judy scribbled something on her pad. "So, no therapy, no doctor visits, no medical bills, just humiliation and a torn pair of jeans." "Exactly," Karen said, missing the sarcasm completely. The judge rubbed her temples. Ms. Wallace, you're wasting my time. The city isn't responsible for your embarrassment. Karen's face turned red. I knew you'd side with them. This whole show was biased. You're all part of the system that keeps ordinary people down. Judge Judy leaned back in her chair, unamused. Ma'am, I've been called many things, but part of a conspiracy is a new one. If you keep shouting, I'll dismiss the case. Karen slammed her binder shut. I'm not shouting, I'm passionate. The audience laughed again. Judy's patience thinned. Bailiff, please remind Ms. Wallace this is a courtroom, not a protest rally. The bailiff, always calm, always stoic, stepped forward. Ma'am, please lower your voice. Karen muttered under her breath but complied. Judy resumed. So far, your evidence is one broken bench and a hurt ego. Anything else? Karen hesitated. Then, with a sudden flash of inspiration, she said, Actually, yes. I have video proof. The audience perked up. The judge gestured. Let's see it. Karen handed over her phone. The bailiff connected it to the screen. The video began, a sunny afternoon, birds chirping, children playing. Karen entered the frame, talking on her phone and gesturing dramatically. She sat down on the park bench, leaned to the side, and, snap, the wood cracked. She flailed, fell backward, and landed in the grass. A bystander gasped, another laughed. The clip ended there. The courtroom was silent for a beat. Then Judge Judy said, deadpan, that's it? Yes. Karen said triumphantly. Proof of my trauma. Ms. Wallace, Judy said slowly, that video shows a bench breaking. It does not prove the city was negligent. It only proves you fell off a bench. You're lucky you weren't hurt. Karen's eyes widened. So you're just going to let them get away with it? Judy's tone turned stern. Nobody's getting away with anything. This is not the city of villains versus Karen the hero. It's a simple case of physics and wear and tear. Karen's voice wavered between anger and disbelief. I can't believe this. I thought this show was about justice. It is, Judy replied. And justice means not rewarding nonsense. For a moment, Karen looked genuinely shocked. Then her outrage shifted to cunning determination. Fine, she said, gathering her papers. If you won't help me, I'll sue you, Judge Judy. This whole show is a scam. The audience gasped. Even the bailiff's eyebrows twitched. Judy, however, didn't move an inch. You're going to sue me? She repeated. Yes, Karen said confidently. For public humiliation. This entire thing is televised. I didn't sign up to be mocked. Judy chuckled softly, a dangerous sound. Ms. Wallace, you signed a release form before stepping into my courtroom. It clearly states that the proceedings are filmed and may be broadcast. Did you read it? Karen hesitated. I skimmed it. Then you agreed. That's unfair. Karen protested. You tricked me. Ma'am, Judy said, leaning forward, if reading a single paragraph before signing is too much to ask, perhaps the courtroom isn't your natural habitat. The audience burst into laughter again. Karen's face turned crimson. You'll regret this, she shouted, storming toward the exit. Sit down. Judy commanded. Her voice cracked like thunder, freezing Karen mid-stride. The bailiff gently guided her back to the table. Let's finish this properly, Judy said. I'm not done with you. Karen folded her arms and glared. Fine. What else do you want to humiliate me for? Judy closed her notebook and stared directly at her. I want to remind you that filing frivolous lawsuits wastes everyone's time and money. You are the embodiment of why the courts are clogged. Karen scoffed. You can't talk to me like that. Oh, but I can, Judy said, smiling thinly. And I just did. The audience erupted in applause. Even the cameraman grinned. Karen, fuming, muttered something under her breath that the microphones barely caught. What was that? Judy asked. Nothing. Good. Because if you continue this nonsense, I'll be the one filing a claim against you for contempt. Karen's bravado crumbled for the first time. She slumped slightly, but her eyes still glimmered with stubborn pride. You'll see, she said softly. You haven't heard the last of me. Judge Judy gave her a dry look. That, unfortunately, may be true. The gavel slammed. Case dismissed. Karen grabbed her bag and stormed out as the audience chuckled. The bailiff followed to make sure she didn't cause trouble backstage. Judy shook her head. Every day, a new adventure, she murmured, and prepared for the next case. But outside the studio, Karen was already plotting her next move. She felt humiliated, yes, but also determined to prove she could win. In her mind, she had been wronged twice, once by the city, and now by the famous TV judge herself. And as she stepped onto the sidewalk, scrolling through her phone to find the number of a lawyer who would believe in justice, she muttered, I'm going to make them pay. She had no idea that her next decision would lead her right back into the spotlight, only this time, with consequences far more expensive than a broken bench. Karen's hands shook as she gripped her phone outside the studio. The California sun blazed down, and the crowd from the audience was still chattering nearby, replaying the highlights of the case that had just been taped. A few of them even pointed in her direction. That's her, someone whispered. The lady who said she'd sue Judge Judy. Karen straightened her posture. Let them talk, she muttered. They'll see who has the last laugh. She opened her phone and searched, lawyers who take on TV shows. Dozens of results appeared, personal injury attorneys, class action specialists, even a firm that claimed to have sued a major streaming service successfully. She clicked the first link and called the number. Within minutes, she was speaking to a young paralegal named Ryan, who sounded both curious and confused. So, you want to sue Judge Judy? He asked carefully. That's right, Karen said. The whole show humiliated me. They made me look ridiculous on national television. Ma'am, Ryan said, was this a televised proceeding you agreed to participate in? Yes, but I didn't realize how mean she'd be. She mocked me, made people laugh at me, and now I'm trending online again. My life is ruined. There was a long pause. Then Ryan said, our consultation fee is $200 an hour. Fine, Karen said. Money's no object when it comes to justice. Of course, money was very much an object, her credit cards were nearly maxed out, but pride was a powerful motivator. 2 days later, Karen arrived at the downtown law office, wearing oversized sunglasses and carrying a fresh binder of evidence. The receptionist offered her coffee, but she refused, she was too focused. An attorney named Michael Trent met her in a glass-walled conference room. He was polite, mid-40s, with the calm patience of someone who'd heard every kind of story imaginable. So, Ms. Wallace, he said, flipping open a legal pad. Tell me what happened. For nearly half an hour, Karen described every detail, how the bench broke, how she became a meme, how Judge Judy attacked her character, and how the audience laughed at her humiliation. Michael listened quietly, jotting notes. When she finally finished, he leaned back. I see. You're claiming defamation, emotional distress, and public humiliation against the producers of Judge Judy? Yes. Exactly, she said eagerly. And maybe fraud, too. They said it was a fair courtroom, but she didn't even listen to me. Michael nodded slowly. Did you sign a participation contract before appearing? Yes, but I told you, I skimmed it. He smiled faintly. I understand. Unfortunately, those contracts are legally binding. They include a waiver stating that participants consent to being filmed, edited, and broadcast for entertainment purposes. Karen frowned. So you're saying they can just make fun of me however they want? To an extent, yes. You voluntarily agreed to appear on a televised arbitration program. It's not an actual court of law, it's legally binding arbitration for TV. The producers have creative control. That's not fair. Michael shrugged. It may not be fair, but it's legal. The only way you'd have a case is if they deliberately edited footage to misrepresent you in a defamatory way. Karen leaned forward. They made me look like a fool. Isn't that defamatory enough? Not unless they fabricated facts. Embarrassing someone isn't the same as defamation. Her expression hardened. Then I'll still sue. Even if I lose, I'll expose them for who they are. Michael hesitated. You have the right to file, but I'd strongly advise against it. Judge Judy's production company has top-tier lawyers. You'd be risking a countersuit for legal costs. Karen crossed her arms. So you're saying I'm supposed to just take it? Let her mock me and do nothing? Michael sighed. Sometimes the smartest thing to do is walk away. But Karen had already made up her mind. 3 weeks later, the internet exploded again, this time because a woman named Karen Wallace had officially filed a civil suit against Big Ticket Television, the company that produced Judge Judy. Her claim: public humiliation, defamation of character, and psychological distress caused by unfair treatment on national television. It didn't take long for news outlets to notice. Headlines popped up. Woman who lost on Judge Judy now suing Judge Judy. From bench break to lawsuit, reality court gone wrong. Karen versus Judy, the legal battle nobody saw coming. Social media had a field day. Memes resurfaced. Clips from the original episode were shared everywhere. One user tweeted, "She lost a $50,000 case and now wants round 2. Somebody get the popcorn." Karen, however, saw herself as a hero. Let them laugh, she told a local reporter who caught her outside her apartment. I'm standing up for everyone who's been bullied by reality TV. When the case finally reached preliminary hearing, Karen strutted into the courthouse like she owned it. But this wasn't a television set, no audience laughter, no stage lights, no bailiff with a witty smile. Just a real judge, stern and silent. The defense team, representing Big Ticket Television, consisted of 3 lawyers in immaculate suits. Karen arrived alone, carrying her familiar pink binder. The judge reviewed the documents for a few minutes before speaking. Ms. Wallace, this appears to be a defamation and emotional distress claim arising from your voluntary appearance on the television program Judge Judy. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor, she said confidently. They humiliated me in front of millions of people. The defense attorney, Ms. Carter, stood. Your Honor, the plaintiff signed a clear and legally binding release form. She consented to filming and broadcast. The agreement explicitly waives all claims for defamation or emotional distress related to the program. Karen interjected, I didn't understand what I was signing. The judge looked at her sympathetically. Did anyone force you to sign? No, but... Did you have the opportunity to read it? Yes, but... Then the contract is binding, the judge said simply. Karen's jaw dropped. That's ridiculous. You're all protecting her because she's famous. Ms. Carter remained calm. Your Honor, we also move to dismiss this case on the grounds of frivolity and request compensation for our legal fees. Karen blinked. Wait, what? That means, the judge explained gently, if this case is dismissed, you may be responsible for the defendant's attorney costs. Karen's face turned pale. That's not fair. I'm the victim here. The judge gave her a patient but weary look. Ms. Wallace, the legal system can't compensate hurt feelings caused by televised embarrassment. You entered the show willingly. You signed consent forms. This case has no basis. But I've suffered emotional pain. I'm sure you have, the judge said kindly. But the law doesn't provide financial remedies for regret. The courtroom fell silent. The judge shuffled a few papers, then said, the motion to dismiss is granted. The plaintiff is ordered to pay the defendant's legal costs, totaling. She paused to confirm the amount with the clerk. $50,000. Karen froze. 50, what? $50,000, Ms. Wallace. The number echoed through the courtroom like thunder. The same figure she'd demanded from the city, the same amount she'd once claimed as her rightful justice, was now being used against her. The irony was too much for even the bailiff to ignore. Someone in the back snorted quietly. Karen's voice cracked. "You're making me pay them?" "That's correct," the judge said. "For wasting the court's time with a frivolous lawsuit. But I don't have that kind of money." "Then I suggest you consult with financial counsel." Court is adjourned. The gavel fell, and it was over. Outside, reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed. Microphones thrust toward her face. "Ms. Wallace, do you have any comment on the ruling? Do you regret suing Judge Judy's show? Will you appeal?" Karen's voice trembled, but she forced herself to stand tall. "This isn't over," she said. "Justice doesn't stop here." But deep down, she knew it was over. Within days, news of her defeat spread everywhere. The same outlets that had mocked her before now turned her story into a cautionary tale. Woman tries to sue Judge Judy, ends up owing $50,000. Talk show hosts joked about it. Internet comedians reenacted the moment she learned the fine. Even late-night TV picked it up. Her inbox filled with spam, her social media was flooded with comments, some cruel, some amused, most calling her the woman who sued Judge Judy. At first, she tried to fight back online. She posted long rants about corruption, media bias, and the system. But the more she spoke, the more people mocked her. Eventually, she deleted her accounts altogether. Months later, Karen moved out of Los Angeles. She took a quiet job at a small-town bakery, avoiding cameras and courtrooms altogether. The binder of evidence gathered dust in a closet. Sometimes, she'd overhear customers talking about Judge Judy, laughing about old clips. And though she'd roll her eyes, a tiny smile sometimes tugged at the corner of her mouth. Because in the end, she had become exactly what she'd wanted to be all along, famous. Just not in the way she'd imagined. And somewhere in New York, in a bright studio office filled with case files and cameras, Judge Judy read a headline, smirked, and said to her producer, "I told you she'd be back." The producer laughed. "Should we invite her again?" Judy shook her head. "Once is enough. The bench might not survive twice."